Welcome to Door2Door Insider, where we take a deep dive into the mindset, the why, and the how of the industry's top entrepreneurs, leaders, recruiters, and salespeople. We are the Door2Door Nation. Here is your host, Lee Barber. Let's go.
All right, gang. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 6 of Door2Door Insider. Today, we have special guest Pat Mendes. Pat has been in Door2Door since 2013, and in 2013, he took the Rookie of the Year for Vivint. After that, he produced 5 300-plus alarm account years, his top year being 363 accounts. Pat has sold over 2,000 personal accounts and managed over 10,000 accounts with his teams. Pat is also currently one of the stars on the reality show 90 Day Fiancé on TLC. Pat also was my original trainer, so I'm super excited to have Pat on the show today. Pat, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, definitely. It's been a crazy 5 years since we met.
It has. I think it's almost been 6. So I started in 2016 on like September 28th or 9th. So Vivint fiscal year starts October 1. And so my first paycheck was after October. So in 2017, after your training, I was Rookie of the Year 2017 for Vivint. So this October, we've actually known each other for 6 years.
6 years, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy, man. So, you were interviewed on The Door Knocker originally, and I wanted to have you back on just because I have a different experience with you. We have some, personal stories, and, we talked about it in core before today, and, I'll never forget the days that we went out. So we went out on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for training. I had no idea what to expect, man. I had been in limousines for 9 years, and here I go diving into door knocking, and you were one of the best, obviously even in the nation at that time, but in Vivint, in the GM program, and you were just a beast, man. And the training and watching what you did and the hours that you were knocking changed my life from that point to this point. So I have an immense amount of gratitude for you because I just were following what you were doing at that time. So, I would like to kind of talk about those early years in Vivint with you, how you got the Rookie of the Year, what that looked like, and how you got to where we met, and then how you kind of catapulted your career from there.
Yeah, so I think of, back in 2013, I was terrified, going into that summer. They tried to recruit me before, and I got scared. So I stayed in Vegas and, was selling cars. Mm-hmm. And so that was like the start of my sales career. And basically, the second come around, I had a little bit more confidence, had some sales experience, and, I heard what people can make and whatnot in the industry. And so I said, all right, let's try it out. So went out for the summer, and, one of the things about sales that's always fun is you get a lot of incentives, and my manager at the time, JT, he threw out, hey, if you're the Rookie of the Year, I'll get you a Breitling. I noticed he had a Breitling. I was like, hey, how'd you get that? Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, we got to manage this, that, and
I remember that Breitling.
Yeah. And so I still got it.
Yeah. You were wearing it when we met.
Actually, funny, the day that we're recording was the last day of that summer. And so I got a Facebook memory today about it.
That's
so
pretty cool.
Yeah, I ended up outselling everyone accounts wise. By one account, I did 178 funded that year in 4 months. During the summer, it's pretty crazy. You're working nonstop. I mean, I was 23 years old, and I was pulling in over 20,000 a month. Just knocking on doors. Yeah, and so I loved it, but it was a means to end. So the thing is, I think when you're going out for something or trying to accomplish anything, it's a little easier when there's an end date. Mm-hmm. And so that's why summers are really powerful, because hey, at the end of the summer, I'm not working for the rest of the year. That's what most guys do. And for me, I ended the summer and I said, I am never doing this again. Thank God this is over. Yeah. And basically just, was grateful for the experience, but I wanted to get back into weightlifting. So I took all the money that I made that summer, and that was my my fund for weightlifting the next 2 years. So I went to Brazil, started meeting coaches, and, was done with Door2Door. And in 2015, my career ended, and I was,
your weightlifting career
ended. And, the first thing I did was, I hit up my manager and said, hey, I want to.
Was it still JT?
It was still JT.
Got to give a lot of props to John Taylor, man. I still do the same thing. He's changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. And, as a sales rep coming into the industry, you don't really pay attention to those things. And you never really think you might be that guy one day. And so, I came out here in Vegas, and I remember never struggling to sell. And I think my first month out here, giving it 80, 75%, I got 4 accounts. And I was scared because it's like, I didn't go to college. I didn't really have a backup plan. I definitely didn't want to go sell cars again. But eventually, I figured it out, got the ball rolling, and, JT decided to move down here, and we started that office together, got to meet you. And that year I trained my first rookie of the year, which is it was Johnny Alcantar. So that was the 2016 year before you. So JT, he's brought a lot of rookies in, and they've had a ton of success.
Yeah.
So it's definitely through like his mentorship, and then just picking up where he left off and picking up the pieces. But yeah, that summer is unforgettable for me. Summer programs are intense, and it's definitely one way to hit the ground running.
Well, what's interesting is you did 170 accounts your rookie year. I did 230. I did 213. Sorry. I did 213 in 12 months. You did 170 in your first year in 4 months.
Yeah.
Which is, and we were talking before the show, the guy that you beat, I think you said, came in from the winter already having 60 accounts, and you still beat him.
Yeah. So I mean, they have it goes off the full calendar year, but they have preseason, and
100%.
There's a lot of guys who sign up and do preseason trips, but I was selling cars and I had surgery on my hip. So it's like,
so it was a legit summer 170.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what I love about what you said is, I talk to people about this, and I know you do the same thing. It's, the plan Bs don't work, is when we come in and we truly have no plan B and we're 100% committed. Because doors are mental, doors are spiritual, doors are physical. There's so many different aspects to doors, and we were talking about staying present. But learning how to become the human being that you need to be on doors is not the human being you were before doors. And when people have a plan B or some other, like, oh, maybe I'll just go back to cars, or maybe if it's me, maybe I'll just go back to limos. But when you have no plan B and you're 100% committed, you face those hard things on doors in a completely different manner. So that's pretty dope. So you come back, you do the 170, go to Brazil. You're like, screw summers.
Yeah.
Come back to JT after the 2 years, and you're like, and then you don't necessarily hit the road running. You said you do 4 accounts, but at some point there, you just turn into, and I mean, you were a monster, and that rookie year was a monster year. But then you just turn into an absolute beast. I mean, you're a 300 plus alarm guy in Vegas on a year-round program, one of the harder markets. How does that transition take place from the guy who comes in and does 4 and then figures out the market and just overcomes everything and then starts training other rookies of the year?
So, yeah, basically it goes back to, I didn't want to do anything else, and I just had to figure it out. And what I did was I looked at the market, and, I saw ADT and other companies like having tons of success. So it's like, I knew it could be done. And it was really just going out and learning from experience, which, is not the best way to learn, but it also collected a ton of data where I can, now multiply it. And so just basically came up with a pitch, had my prospecting down, and then it just became plug and play. And just through that trial and error in the first couple months, I really started, picking up accounts and starting doing the volume that I needed, because I knew I couldn't go back to the summers. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to do anything like that. I wanted to be in Vegas, and I know we had a good opportunity here to kind of get this GM program like really running.
Our office was one of the first GM programs in Vivint. We were kind of pioneering it at that time.
Yeah, that was the first year of the GM program.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the number one office that year. And then the next year we went, I think we did about like 1,300 accounts from really January to October. And then the next year we ended up at 2,700 accounts. And then that's when I went ahead. I was like, cool, I did my thing here. Let me go on, and I moved to Philadelphia and I started. That was my first like solar experience was in 2017 that's when I started, trying to do solar out in New Jersey.
What was crazy about our office back then is, I mean, I don't know if we dubbed it to ourselves or who did, but we used to call ourselves SEAL Team 6. But those accounts that we were doing was not with the largest office of people. We had one of the smaller offices, but we had just a crew of guys that were all, 150, 250, 350 account reps. And so the amount of volume that we were able to produce with a small squad of dudes was actually pretty phenomenal. I remember when you leave, like my mind exploded. I was like, no way, Pat's leaving. It was like no way, So, so you go out there, you spent a couple years out there, right?
Yeah. So I bought a house in Philadelphia, moved out there, started another GM program doing solar and smart home. And it was a failed experiment. So, I mean, one of the things is through all the successes that I've had in my life, I've definitely, have had some failures to go along with it.
Absolutely. Me too.
And I think it was just, looking back, it was really just a part of my journey and, getting out there, I did get a ton of experience, like as far as just learning how to really run a ship by myself. Cause here I always had JT to, fall back on, and
I vibe with that,
which was a, huge, great, like that was a great asset to have, along my side, but I wanted to venture out on my own.
Yeah.
And even though it didn't go well that first year out there, I kept with it. And eventually, I ended up switching companies and moving over to like a dealer program. So in alarm industry, you kind of have the corporate setups or however you want to call it. And then you have alarm dealers. So
same in solar,
and
you got the big boxes and then you got the dealers.
Yeah. And you got to kind of, and it really, at the end of the day, it's as far as like pay goes, they're pretty similar. It just depends on what you need. To me, it really depends on what you need as a sales rep and, what type of structure works best for you, because some structures don't. And so at the time, I really felt like the dealer program was the way to go. And then, so I switched over to a dealer program and had a ton of success over there. And I got to see an entire different side of the industry that I never experienced before. So, I mean, I went from, having all the equipment I needed, all the tech support I needed, offices, everything, to, I was carrying equipment in the trunk of my car and I was running meetings in my basement.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because, with being resourceful is a huge asset in Door2Door. And I feel like, I had that with me my entire life. I've always kind of been able to pick up sticks and, build a house. And so, that experience taught me to be really resourceful.
Yep.
And eventually I got to the point where once you scale, the systems came in place where, I wasn't managing inventory and I wasn't managing techs. And so it just, in those beginning parts of like starting your own, whether you're a sub dealer or your own dealership, it's a mess.
It's a mess. I vibe with that, man. So, part of my journey was I was with JT in the Vegas office. And then it was a weird thing because were you there when Vivint Plus you were when the Vivint Plus started coming, the solar guys started coming in?
Yeah.
And so that was like tough because then you're talking to these guys who are making different money on accounts. And so, I spent 2 years with JT and then I go to Vivint Plus, and, I love the guys at Vivint Plus, but like our work ethic in alarms was completely different than a solar guy's work ethic. And I'm talking to these guys. I'm like, you go out at 4 and you knock till 7 and you make how much? And I was like, so my mind started spinning out. So I go over to Vivint Plus from JT after about 2 years. It was 2 years. I finished 2 years with them. And then I went into a dealer program myself, and my experience is exactly like yours. It was, it is, JT's an incredibly intelligent individual and knows how to run teams really well. And he just kind of does that. but you don't do it. And so getting into the dealer program myself, you know, especially with Misty, it taught us how to run a business. It taught us to do the heavy lifting. It taught us how to do the payroll. It taught us how to do all the like really critical things of running and owning a business. And then what happens is you get to a scale point where it's so overwhelming that you need the big company back, because you're like, I don't have $20 million to invest in technology. I don't have $15,000 a month to invest in a payroll company to deal with all the back and all this stuff. And you get overwhelmed because you have so much volume, but then the money's really good, but then your quality of life goes down. And then you're like, oh man, okay, I need the big company back. So I went through the same thing, man.
That's actually, it's funny because this is the first time like hearing that story from you. Cause you know, we live in Vegas. Yeah. We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what happened to us. You know, we got like to a certain point and it just felt like, you know, hey, this was it.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, stress level, like I was a lead tech, you know, I was dispatching jobs as I was selling.
Yeah.
Like the year I sold 360, I mean, I was the lead tech for, you know, 2,000 accounts.
Yeah. You didn't have
like
JMO.
I dispatched 2,000 accounts and had them scheduled.
Yeah.
It was just insane. And I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I knew I couldn't. Like I felt myself as like the years progressed. I was like, man, this is a lot. And it was just a huge load to carry. And yeah, you know, the big box companies, they have the support. So that's how
scalability.
In 2021, we decided to, you know, come back to Vivint.
Yep. Yeah. I remember when that happened too. That was, it was great because, you know, you've just been friends with John for so long. So you guys did that. You were in Texas. And then, so here's where this is, and guys, I just want, just so the audience knows, I love Pat's story. He's just one of the most beasts of a door knocker, but I'm like, I love Pat's story because now he's on 90 Day Fiancé and he's still knocking. So there's all this cool stuff that I want to talk about other than just door knocking.
Yeah.
Cause this is like the story of a real door knocker. Pat's like, I've knocked beside Pat. I know his work ethic. He literally, I'm pretty good after 6 years. I'm pretty good on a door. You're one of those dudes I look at and you're like, damn, you're good, man. So, but you see that. And so you're a door knocker, like born and bred. And then kind of to see your story of like where all this has gone. And we'll talk about the 90 Day Fiancé and all this. So that's kind of where we're going. But there you are in Texas. You were running a team, pretty good sized team. You guys were putting up a lot of accounts. You started with Vivint. I remember coming out with JT, and we were going to talk about solar some kind of way.
Yeah.
And that was before your transition. And when I came out, we were at a restaurant and you were telling me about your wife or your girlfriend then, who was in Brazil, and you guys were trying to, you know, make it work over. So I remember just back then, and that's part of the story that I don't have filled in. So like, what's going on in Texas with you and your girl? You're transitioning into Vivint. You're managing all these accounts. Like, what's going on in that time of your life?
Yeah. So it was in 2018, just to kind of catch up on the story. I went over to the dealer program, had a ton of success, kept it going. Personal life kind of fell apart. So I ended up getting divorced.
Yep.
And that was in 2019. Well, end of 2018 is when the whole divorce thing started.
And you were
happening.
still on the East Coast.
I was in Texas at the time.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, we only could last 1 year in the East Coast. It wasn't for us.
The vibe.
Yeah, not my thing.
Got it.
Not a big fan. Sorry, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But so, you know, as I'm going through divorce, like I just, you know, talked one of my main guys into moving into Texas. So then, you know, and then a couple other guys followed. So I had this little group of like 5 guys, nothing crazy. Ended up building that year to 2,000 accounts. And during that whole year in 2019, you know, I really started picking up on this meditation stuff. And, you know, I realized for me, I think I heard this, I think it was Colin Cowherd. And, you know, like in sports, you have like 2 ways to go. You can, you know, some guys pick the money and some guys pick winning. And it kind of resonated with me because indoors, you know, I've always been about winning. Win. Me too. That's it. Yeah. Like, you know, when it was come to selling, like there's accounts where like, you know, I wouldn't make any money, but I got the number.
Me too.
And there's, you know, there's plenty of times, you know, where I had to buy out an account because of a contract or whatever.
So many. Lose money.
it's funny because I look back and like after hearing that, hearing someone say that, I was like, that's kind of like where I've been, my entire career is just really, it's been about winning. And what happened was I signed up for this meditation retreat. And during, any type of traumatic experience, like for me, I just was like trying to make myself better because I knew, hey, my ultimate goal is, to have a family one day. Like that's what
Was the meditation retreat before or after divorce?
It was after.
It was after.
Yeah. So it was after. And, during this retreat, I've never meditated before, and you just go all in. It's 6 hours a day. And it's been life-changing. Like ever since that moment, going on almost up to 3 years. I mean, my life has been crazy from, in 2020, well, hold on, let me go back. So after the meditation retreat, I had it. I had my vision. I had my future. Like I saw, as I was there, I basically envisioned myself with someone from Brazil. And when I was there, I booked a one-way ticket to Brazil. And so what ended up happening was I ended up landing on my grandmother's 90th birthday. And I didn't tell anyone I was going to Brazil. And so I ended up surprising her on her birthday. Yeah. And it was a huge thing. My whole family was there. And in the meantime, I was like, hey, I got to find a wife. Let me put my Tinder location down there. That's actually how we met. Yeah. And we started talking on social media, and during that whole divorce thing, I've played with the apps and, was catfished so many times that I can't count. So, I was like kind of skeptical, like this was actually going to happen.
Tinder can be sketchy. You just never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I ended up the day after, it was December 28th, 2019. That was our first date. And so I pick her up and I don't speak Portuguese. She doesn't speak English. And so it's just Google Translate the whole way. And I spent about 3 weeks in Brazil. Wow. And, went on a bunch of dates with her, got to know her more. And something was just telling me, let's pursue this. But in the same time, and I learned this during the retreat, when you set out like on a big goal, like huge, massive goal, it's hard not to have doubt. But then
it's natural. It's impossible not to have doubt.
And, that's held me back from a lot of things. Yeah. And, I've gotten over it. Obviously it's, how I've had success, but with my wife, I was like, man, like she lives in Brazil. Like, how's it going to happen? And then I realized, I was like, well, there is already a life with her that exists. It's already happened already.
Manifest destiny.
And, I kept telling myself that. And so before I left Brazil, I booked another trip, like 6 weeks to come back. And I just started on this path. It was a war path between like work and Brazil. Yeah. So instead of like, working 40 hours a week, I was like, hey, if I work 60, 70 hours a week, then I can take 2 weeks off. And I just was like, well, that's what I got to do. And, what happened was, obviously 2020, we had the coronavirus. But it actually, like, because of that, it made our job easier, because people were home. Yeah. Which made it easier to make money, which made it easier to take time off. Because I was just, taking the money I made and said, okay, cool, let me buy some time. So I started pursuing, my wife, my future wife. And I went back to Brazil pretty much every 6 weeks. And I went back in February, April, and I was just going and going. And
is she learning, are you learning Portuguese and she's learning English in this time?
Well, one of the goals I had, like in the meditation retreat, you create this mind movie. And basically what it is, it's a bunch of pictures with music, and it's supposed to be like what you want for your future. And in that mind movie, I'm married, I speak Portuguese, I have a family, like all these different things that I created in that retreat. I have my dream car.
Yep. What is the dream car?
A Tesla.
Got it.
And, I've all these things I created during that time, it started to come true. Yeah. And I was just living it and just creating. And yeah, I ended up learning Portuguese, within like 3 to 4 months. And in about 8 months though, really, like we can start communicating. And, I went down and it was towards the end of the year. Our team was killing it. So we went from like 5 or 6, maybe 8 guys full time at the end of 2019 to by the end of 2020, we were like 35 guys deep.
How many accounts you putting through a year?
We did 3,600 that year.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big year.
And, that was actually the first year where it got to the point where, I couldn't sell like I normally sell.
It's different.
And you're just managing. Yeah. And that was cool. It was a really cool experience because like I've always looked at guys, who are managers or whatever, but they don't produce themselves. And I've always kind of been,
player coach.
Yeah, and I get it,
But yeah, you kind of you're like, you're not really still not, but then it changes because you like.
I got to see it. I got to see it. And it does. Yeah. There does come a point where like you're more valuable off the doors.
Yeah.
And where that point is, I mean, is different for everyone. And for me, it was over 2,000 accounts is really where it's like, okay,
it's a lot
more valuable outside the doors. And so with this pursuit of my wife and the platform that we had at the dealer program, I was just able to just have all cylinders running nonstop. And the trips to Brazil, they were paid for with credit card points. And they were cheap. I was like the only person on a plane in business class.
Yeah.
There was one flight to Sao Paulo where literally it was 2 people on the plane.
That's pretty cool.
Because I'm a dual citizen.
I used to love it when there was Southwest or any of them there couldn't be somebody in the middle seat. Oh, that was like the best travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the whole world shut down and, we got shut down in Texas. So I took my team to Arkansas and that was a big part of like our experience in the year that we had. And basically from there, like I'm traveling the world, going to Brazil every 6 weeks, using both my passports. So like as an American, you can't go to Brazil. The borders are shut down. So I'm Brazilian. Go there. And then as a Brazilian, you can't come to America because all the borders are shut down. So then I'm American.
Yeah.
And so, all these different crazy things that's happened, kind of led up to this point where, now I'm pursuing my future wife. And eventually we proposed, eventually I proposed. And then from there, we filed the paperwork for the K1 visa. And that's what the TV show is all about.
Yeah.
So the TV show is based off the K1 visa. It's a one-time entry visa for your fiance.
Yep.
And you have 90 days to get married. So that's where the whole 90-day fiance comes from.
So before we get too far into that, so listen, success leaves breadcrumbs, right? And, my cousin, Doug, is one of my mentors in life. And he has always had this saying, and I didn't understand it and it's really simple. Winners win. And, I thought about that for years because he's always like, cuz winners win, cuz. And he's like, how you doing? I'm like, great. He's like, winners win. And it's winners win because winners do what winners do. Right. And I did a podcast with Chris Pierce, who does mental toughness, and it really opened my paradigm to that. And what he said was that the reason that winners are right. And what is winning? Right. It's not money. Money's not winning. Right. But mental success, spiritual success, physical success, the whole person paradigm, family success, being a good father, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, brother, cousin, that's success when you're good to other people and you bring value and love to them in their life, right? That's success. But winners win because it's always easy to do the easy things, but it's hard to do the hard things. And what Chris said was winners win because when it gets really tough and they get overwhelmed and life wants to come down and crush them, they fall into their fundamentals. So they have a core fundamental amount of things that say, this is what I do when I'm under pressure. This is how I will act under pressure. These are what my belief systems are about quitting. This is what my belief systems are about pushing through. This is my belief system about how I'm going to handle fear, whether I'm going to put it behind me and it pushes me forward, or I'm going to put it in front of me and holds me back. So you're going through, this is why I love door knocker stories, because, all of us that have been in the industry for a little while, I've seen guys and girls go through breakups where they're not married, and it can send them out. I mean, when you become a leader and you have somebody that's like, it's like one of the number one things as a leader you look for when somebody's going through a relationship issue, you're like, oh, it's like all hands on deck. How can I help you through this? But through that, it's traumatic. You're going through a divorce, splitting up how, like there's a lot going on in your life at that time. You're leading a team, you have responsibilities, like there's people that count on you, you're in control of your own income, like all of these things. And what Pat says is, I'm getting overwhelmed. What resource can I use to help me get through this? And then, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Here comes Joe Dispenza. And you go in and, you know, this is where two paths can take place. You can get overwhelmed and crushed by the divorce and let your team down, let your people down, let yourself down, and then just go off into never land and sink mentally. Or you can overcome that and find what you want to manifest as your destiny, and that's what you do. So you go in there, you don't lose sight of what you want, right? Because, you know, relationships with even friends can dissuade us and hurt us from having other relationships, but you still realize what you want. That wasn't the person. She was great. Off she goes. That wasn't what Pat was going to get. And then you go in and find what you need to become mentally and spiritually fit, and then determine what you want your destiny to be. And I'm huge. I mean, for me, I live in a state of like, what is my mindset? Am I in a fixed mindset? Am I in abundance mindset? Like, what am I thinking today? Because my thoughts have, just like yours, have literally created my reality, literally. So my belief systems and what I believe. And so I love that part of your story because, you know, you go in and you reprocess your emotions, you get control of yourself, you do what winners do. You don't let it tank you out. And then you go in and you find yourself, find new processes, create a destiny, and then literally go out and manifest it. So I think that's badass, bro. It's badass.
And, you know, just to speak on that a little bit too, you know, I did have my down days. You know, it wasn't you know, an instant turnaround. Like there were days as I was going through the divorce where literally I'd put my shirt on, I'd put my uniform on, I would drive to area, and then I would just drive around, and I was like, what's the point? You know, and then I drive home.
Yeah, I've done.
You know, so
the stuff we tell guys to never do.
Yeah.
How many times have you told guys not to do that?
A ton. Yeah. And it was really, you know, I haven't had too many of those days. I'm one of the few. I've always liked knocking doors. I've always liked the pursuit of the hunt. I've always liked selling. It's always been fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, because of like days like that is where I really like had to look within and figure out like, hey, what's going on? What can I find to like overcome this and, you know, really start focusing what I want? Because, you know, I'm not that old, but, you know, at the time I was like, shit, you know, I'm almost 30. I'm not even married anymore. Like when is this going to happen?
Yeah.
Because that's that subconsciously, like I can tell you, because there's some more of the story, but I know that's what I've wanted. Like money, that stuff, you know, especially after like making the type of money that I have and, you know, experiencing the things that I've got to experience, whether it's trips or nice cars, houses, whatever.
You've had $1 million years.
Yeah.
Plus $1 million plus years.
So, well, no, 995.
995?
995.
We'll call it $1 million.
Yeah. Damn it. I know. I looked at my tax return. It was like, damn, 5,000 short. I was like,
it's a pretty good year.
Yeah, I should have borrowed it from someone just to put it on the income.
Just get a receipt.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Should have had you send me an invoice or something.
I would have done it. Yeah.
I know. That's funny.
So, but, yeah, go ahead.
Massive years. And, yeah, I feel like, you know, getting involved in that, and, you know, that's your whole life's a massive story, and there's a bunch of different things that have happened to make it all come true. But I can just tell you from that point, it's been insane. I've been in this creation mode, and it comes and goes sometimes. But for the most part, like sitting here today, got the baby on the way. Yeah. We bought a house. Like we're in Vegas, you know, a place that I call home. You know, I've been here. All my friends are here, and we have like our little community here. My best friend's having a baby. Literally, I lived with him in high school, and like we're having a baby at the same time. I mean, it's just there's so many great things that are happening outside of work and the money. And, you know, even though it's hard to kind of let money go or see things like go down, like I'm exactly where I want to be.
Well, you know, it's weird because I'm not motivated. I like making money, and for me, a lot of my motivation is just changing my daughter's paradigm from how I grew up, and how Misty grew up and how my daughter's mom grew up. Like, there was a lot of trouble in all of our households. And the most happiness that I get is that my daughter is just a really wonderful little girl who's honest. She does goofy stuff.
I'm having a little girl too.
They're amazing. I mean, she calls me on the phone. She's like, "Dad, can I have 10 Skittles?" And she's just so honest. I'm like, "Yeah, like take 15." Like, but just to see her, and the money is great, and I've been watching this Joe Rogan, but he has that, I think it was a Navy SEAL that actually said it, but hard men create soft times and soft men create hard times. And, we do these hard things on doors, and you're not money, I'm motivated by the win too. I love the process. We talked a little bit about that in core today. I'm not competition motivated. I'm self-motivated. Like, I have things that I set for myself and I have to hit those. Like the old Vivint office, dude, I remember going home nights and then going back out because I didn't want a bagel the next day. It wasn't the money. And how many, dude, do you know how many free doorbells and free, I gave away so much, dude. I paid one time I paid a dude $5. So it was one of Seth Grinney's accounts when I wasn't with Legacy. I paid a dude, Seth beat me on price so bad. I had to pay the dude $500 for him to go solar, but I won. And I was like, I won.
That's
so,
awesome.
Like, that's where my mind, it's not the money, but I vibe with what you're saying, because if there's nobody to share it with, it's not meaningless. It's just not as meaningful. And like, when you have a skill set that we get in this industry, when we've been here for a certain amount of time, it's something that we'll always have, and you can always go in and put that work in. But sometimes there are things, oftentimes there are things that are so much more important than money. And I love that you found, like, and I know you walked away from a lot of stuff when you were in the alarms to go and pursue your wife and where you're at now. And I think that's just phenomenal, because it just shows where your priorities are at. And you're like, your happiness, you're in touch with what your real happiness is. It's like, you can always go back out and make the money. There's no way that Pat Mendes can't just go anywhere in the United States and sell a bunch of stuff, right? Like, that's for sure. But having a family and a child and a wife to share it with is completely different. So I love that part of the story, man.
Yeah, I think like it's just, finding balance. And, as I look back on, what's happened just in this last like year, for like, just to bring an example up, like I went from watching the TV show for the first time because like we found out like we might get on it, to, fast forward less than a year later, I'm getting paid to watch the show.
Yeah.
And, it's insane. Like,
surreal.
Like, like all that is just, it's like, I didn't ever think I would necessarily be on TV or whatever, have millions of people watching, my life. And, when the opportunity came up, I don't know if you want me to get into this now, but I can.
Well, yeah, I do. But so let's go back into the story. So there you are, because I'm interested how you guys developed, because I know that it was hard to get into America at that time just because of everything that was going on. They were really, it didn't matter what nation you were from. Getting a work visa or a green card of any type was next to impossible unless you were like a billionaire or something. So I know that you were going through struggles with that. You're traveling out there. At some point, that relationship starts to develop. Like, I want to know how that happened. And then like one of the questions I wrote down is like, how do you even get on the show? Like, so let's go back to the moment where like you guys are kind of like the inception of you guys and the development. Yeah.
So, after, about 10 months of going back and forth and, watching like us progress, like, obviously we don't speak the same language. Like, communication is going to be an issue, and it still is sometimes. It's something that we're continuously working on.
Yeah.
And
like, marriage isn't hard enough already.
Yeah. And so, but just deep down, we share a lot of the same values, and, she's just like such an amazing person that like, I just couldn't see myself with anyone else.
Yeah.
So, I knew the fastest way to get her here. Like, I did some research, K1 visa, that's the way to go. So we filed it back in 2000. I think this was 2020. We filed it finally. We were able to file everything. My divorce was finalized. Like, that was a big thing too.
Yeah.
And so from there, like, you know, it was just a waiting game.
Can I break in with a little story?
Yeah.
I remember we went to dinner, and it was me, you, and Moriello, and JT, and Misty. And you were telling part of this story. And John, we never did it, so we didn't commit any federal crimes. But remember, John was like, well, what we need to do is rent a yacht.
Yeah.
And like pull up to Brazil and just have her jump on it, and we'll float her back over.
Yeah, because you were like
literally like, how do I do it?
Yeah, and with the process too, like you don't know if you're going to get approved or not. So
JT would have rented a yacht too. I think if you would have said go, he would have go.
No, it was like we had backup plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like there wasn't stopping her from coming here.
Yeah.
And so, you know, luckily we did it the legal way. We got the approval. And then after you get approved, you have an interview process. And once we got the approval, that's when we got in contact with a casting agent. And basically how you get on the show is you go through a process of like interviews and things like that.
What sparks the idea?
Well, she was in this group text that's like, I think the translation, it's like Warriors of K1.
Okay.
And so it's a bunch of like Brazilian women that like are, you know, sharing their experience so then people can learn, you know, like how the process goes and little things you can do to make things go faster.
Got it.
And so I guess in that group text, you know, someone was like, hey, you should hit up the TV show. So she sent in the email and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was just like, you want to be on TV? And, you know, I'm in my head, I'm like, is this fake? Like, come on, this isn't really someone from a TV show.
Yeah.
And like,
when they called you?
Yeah. And then it was like one interview.
Thought you were getting punked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was another interview. And then it was another interview. And then all of a sudden, like one of the main, you know, people are calling us and like just saying, hey, the network, you know, wants you on the show.
Wow.
And basically we're, you know, and
is she still over there?
No,
she got her K1.
No, she's still in Brazil. Yeah, so
she's
still in Brazil. And
so you get approved for the show. She's still in Brazil.
She's still in Brazil. Yep. We got the interview date. I fly down, and I'm there with her during the interview process. That's my last trip. So we both haven't been back to Brazil since because she can't travel because it's only a one-time entry visa. So she passes the interview, and then from there they granted her the visa, and they started filming us like right before she came. So in October-ish, something like that. But they started filming us last year, and then boom, as soon as the 90 days hit, you know, they get you right as she lands. And, you know, it's an intense process. And it was, you know, something that I was, you know, I adjusted as we went, and it was experience. Like for me, once the opportunity presented itself, I was just like, hey, I'm like, hey,
do it. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about doors is so when, you know, you spoke at Correlation here, and, you know, you named a few people. Just talk about like Mark Cuban. But I mean, there's so many people that are in completely different lines of work that started knocking doors. There's this confidence that you get, and, you know, you were a weightlifter for a long time too. So you have a lot of like, when we look at like people who are successful, we see a lot of those driving mechanisms. You know, I think, what was it? How many kilos was your lift? The top?
My best snatch. Lift? Yeah. 207, 456 pounds.
Top American, right?
Yeah.
In ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, so you were how old? 19?
Yeah, I lifted 200 kilos when I was 19 years old, and no American training competition has ever done that before
or since. So but you look back at Pat, like there's these mechanisms. You don't get there just by happenstance. It takes a lot of lifting in the 2 years before that you did, because you said, I didn't even know what a snatch was 2 years before that, but then I'm doing it. But those driving mechanisms where, you know, and then you hit doors. And so, you know, one of the things that Casey Baugh said that always resonated with me on our podcast was, you know, when you hit doors, you are the equivalent of your life's experiences at that moment, right? And then who are you? Well, you're the rookie of the year. And then you go off and lift weights, and that doesn't work out, and back you come to that, and you're massive success in that. And then, so you have all these components that, you know, and I'm I love to say, like, I'm a person who puts my fear behind me, because I have a ton of fear. I have financial fear. I just fear, like it's natural, but I put it behind me and it pushes me to be successful. Is where I see a lot of people, and I've had the same thing. I've had a lot of businesses that haven't worked. My roofing company was not really successful for 6 months, but we just stuck with it, and now it's successful. But I've had a lot of failures, but I put that fear behind me and it pushes me forward. And the times the regrets that I have is when I've allowed my fear to stand in front of me and hold me back. But so there you are. And she's like, let's do 90-day fiance. And you're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And there was definitely,
you see those like,
there's definitely some back and forth, but I'm definitely, it's at this point, sometimes it's not a good thing, but like if I tell someone I'm going to do something, like I stick with it.
Yeah.
And,
well, you're a man of your word.
Yeah. And it's gotten me, in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's, definitely, something I'm still learning to get like a balance of.
Mm-hmm.
But like with this, it was like, dude, we told them we'll do it. Like we got to do it. So like now we got to do it. Cause it was definitely like a back and forth. Cause, it's a lot, they capture some of the most like intimate moments, of your life. Like her coming here was something like I was imagining,
for a long time
since the day I saw her.
Yeah.
So it's just like having that, be on camera and sharing that with the world, that is like some of the things that you have to like kind of sacrifice, I guess, being on the show. And there was a lot of stuff going on in the background with work. So coming over, to Vivint with the team, we were doing pretty good. We didn't have like this massive jump that we thought we would. And basically, I mean, yeah, my story, there's a lot. So even
get after it
here.
Let's hear it.
So
the struggles are good because everybody has them and it's how you deal with them.
Yeah. So, I mean, like so now the next thing, another thing I'm been dealing with, still, which is, a blessing. She's still here, is like my mom last year was diagnosed with cancer.
Sorry to hear that.
And, it's terminal. She's not healthy enough to do what she needs to do, like the radiation or whatever they do to get rid of it. It's just not an option for her. And so like I have that going on. I have, my future wife stuck in Brazil until this visa is approved. And then, my sales team, because, again, I really think it's hard to realize, and it's something that you run in a program, and subconsciously my program was like, I want a family.
Mm-hmm.
I want a wife before anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And, I took a back seat to work. Work took a back seat to getting Thais here and, and then like taking care of my mom and, things like that. And I watched like as our team like started to, dwindle.
Mm-hmm.
And a deal came up to like go back to the dealer program. And it was a big deal. I mean, it was $1.5 million sign-on deal to go there.
It's a lot of money, Pat.
Yeah. 50% up front.
Yeah.
To sign on for 3 years. So it was a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And, I had to make a choice. I've seen this industry, tear apart families. A lot of successful guys in this industry, they don't have a successful personal life, or, they've had to overcome a lot, whether it's through divorce and I've seen that, and it's hard for me to not see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think through my first relationship, work was, again, it was a fighting point, work too much, this, that, and the other. And I think like when that time came, I was just in a spot where it was like, look, I'm getting her visa's approved. Like I'm getting everything I want, to jump back and then basically have to still carry all that responsibility. I looked at it as a sign. I really did. Like looking back, I'm just like, hey, maybe this is my chance to, let go of all this responsibility of 30 reps and technicians and being the man and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's going to give me a chance to kind of reset and give my focus, to my future wife. Because that's ultimately, to me, if I didn't make that decision, I don't know if I'd be where I'm at right now, which, is exactly where I want to be.
Yeah.
And, money is definitely can make, Tyreek Hill said it, when someone throws a lot of money at you, it kind of changes things.
Mm-hmm. And,
it definitely, could have, it's crazy to think, like, I look back at that decision and I'm like, I'm so interested to see how the rest of the story like plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm just excited, that I'm here now and, we have the baby on the way. And basically, yeah. So, door to door, you have teams, you have different managers, you have recruiters, you have trainers. I've always been the trainer, and operations type of mindset. That's where I'm at. And, I partnered with, the main recruiter. And, once he decided like, hey, this is better. I was gone. I was in Brazil. I was in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking care of my mom. And they got a plan together. They pitched me on the plan. I was like, I wasn't even paying attention, to be honest. Like I was so distracted by other stuff.
Yeah.
And, I think I can say now, like I made the right decision.
Yeah.
Like, especially, after getting married and having the baby or she doesn't have the baby yet, but, getting pregnant, like it's
some things are priceless, man. They are.
Yeah. And
a good marriage and a child is, you haven't had your daughter yet.
Yeah. She's coming up a couple months.
I'm going to tell you, dude, it's an unbelievably priceless experience. The entire process. Like, it gets me emotional. My daughter's changed my life. So yeah, it's priceless.
And, one thing I want to share from that experience, like for the guys on the doors or just anyone in general, is, be aware of your subconscious and what you truly want. Like I've always said that when recruiting people, or like when people try to come work with me, it's like, do you really want to do this? Because I can motivate and inspire you to a certain point to make it feel like you do, but I can't do that forever. And eventually that program, will take over and you'll leave, or you'll go do something else, or you'll start self-sabotaging yourself. And, you won't have the success that you may have had when you first started. And, that's something that I've been, luckily, with the meditation and just being aware and kind of like learning about that part of your mind. Like, I've been very aware of that program that I have. And I think ultimately that's what led me to the decision. It wasn't like bad blood. It wasn't, well,
no, you were included. Like, it does speak for your old business partner that it wasn't just, hey, how do we cut Pat out? It's how do we get Pat to the table and let him make a decision on what he wants to do? That in and of itself, bro, in our industry, is rare. The one thing I can attest to is I've always had my tough conversations. When I left JT, I went and talked to JT and Jeremy. When I left Arcadia to come to Legacy, I went and talked to John Murphy. When I left Presidential, I went and talked to JG Bell and Jeff Iverson. And, for him to like, not to see kind of what was going on, but say, hey, let's bring Pat to the table. Just that, having a crucial conversation does speak something, just to give you the option to do that, to give you the chance. And so I do respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. In the moment, it was definitely, it felt like
more emotional.
Well, yeah, it felt like a gun to my head.
Yeah.
Because it was more just like, hey, we're leaving.
Well, it kind of was in a sense, but
hey, like you could,
at least you had a gun.
Yeah, you could come.
At least
I had like a gun with a lot of money in a suitcase.
Yeah.
But like,
so it was like a suitcase full of money to your head.
Yeah.
Is really what it was.
And it was like, you could come with us. And yeah, I just, from that, I think this last year, between the TV show and just our lives together, like I've got to spend more time with her than I ever imagined I'd be able to.
Yeah.
Just because, I had some things in the works too. I was selling my house, we're moving anyway.
Yeah.
And, I was one of the lucky ones who bought in 2018. Shout out to all you people who bought in 2018. That was a good year to buy a house.
It was a good year.
And, it just ended up, kind of working out where, I had a little nest egg from my house.
Yep.
I had all the time in the world. I had no responsibilities. And, it was just really, for me, it was just, going out, working, managing the couple of guys that stuck around. But yeah, it's really helped our relationship. And like right now we're in such a good place. Like I'm just elated. Like I can't, it was such a struggle getting her here and all the fights, like being, you know, in different countries and speaking different languages. And, you know, like now it's like, man, because I've got to spend so much time with her. I mean, we've been together every single day since she's been here. Yeah. Not a single day apart, not one trip, not one, like, you know, every day. And that's exactly what I wanted. Yeah. You know, I wanted that because every time I left Brazil, it just got harder and harder, you know, to just, you know, come back, you know, by myself again, sleeping alone. It's like, you know, I'm working towards getting back there, but it was a struggle to get to this point, and you know, it really paid off. Yeah, it's weird, man. You know, like I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. You know, Misty's my business partner. She's been my business partner, for almost 4 years. I mean, we're together every day. I mean, we go see teams in other states, and it's like we're waking up together, we're flying together, we're at the hotel room together, we're at the core together, we're on doors together, we're with the team together, we're at dinner together, we're at lunch together. And I love her. I enjoy it, you know, and it can cause friction sometimes because you're together so much, but I vibe with that because, you know, I love my wife and I really love being around her. So the one thing that I love is there has been instances in my life where one of them was the meeting with John Taylor at Joe's. We talked about that in core, but it was scary, man. You know, I was like, holy crap. Like I'm going to leave this job over here where I get this paycheck kind of no matter what. And I'm going to like give this car back and I got to go buy a car and I'm going to go freaking knock doors. And I remember JJ Bell, like I went to tell him when I quit and he was like laughing at me. And I'm like, oh my God, did I like really Is that crazy?
It's insane. And, you know, but if I wouldn't have made that choice, if Misty wouldn't have gotten into solar, some of the little things, but like if you wouldn't have made, you don't know where it's going to go. But what I've noticed that when we have these core belief systems and this positive manifestation, this abundance mindset where you just kind of intrinsically start to know that everything's going to be okay. I remember like when I was younger in my 20s and 30s, and I remember like cognitively thinking like, I wish God could just come down and sit right in front of me and tell me which of these two decisions to make, because I was so unsure of myself for so long because I hadn't made positive decisions or they were negative decisions and I didn't believe in myself or love myself. But when you get to a certain point of confidence in yourself and you know what you really want in your heart and you're willing and you start thinking about that and then you start to truly believe, because this is what happens, is you just truly 100% believe that, well, if I just set my mind to something and it's realistic and I understand the processes that I need to do to get there, and that's what I want, then it's going to happen. It'll manifest itself no matter what. So I love that you made the choice too, because it just shows like, and I love that you love where you're at because it just tells you like, this is where you're supposed to be. And that's where happiness is found. And you can't listen. No, you're a monster, right? Like recruiting, operations, sales, doors, training, that you're always going to have that. It's that never goes away. If you laser focus on the doors, it's like, that's an easy turn, right? So, but to make a hard choice like that and follow your heart and create what you wanted and what you have, that's super dope.
Yeah. And I think like, you know, I think it just, you know, I felt like I was choosing my path at that point.
Yeah. Well, you were.
And what I was doing like for work, you know, was kind of always like, to be honest, it wasn't really following myself all the time. It was mainly following what other people did or trying to like, you know, be something like chasing numbers or whatever, and getting to a point where, you know, I was, you know, at the top of the game. I had the big team. I was whatever, you know, number one team in the company, all that stuff. And I was still, you know, sitting there. And I didn't feel fulfilled.
Didn't feel good.
Yeah. So, you know, I had to like work through that because I think for my entire life, the program, you know, I told myself was just be the best and you'll be happy. Like no matter what, like just be the best and you'll be happy. And it's like, well, I did that in weightlifting. Definitely wasn't happy when I was a weightlifter.
Yeah.
You know, weightlifting, you know, was just a massive tool that I use to get over the anger that I had as a child.
Emotional outlet to trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I dove into it so hard that it just created this monster of a human who can squat 800 pounds, at 20 years old.
If anybody hasn't YouTube buff, just go to YouTube and YouTube buff Pat Mendes, and you will see a 19-year-old with the most monstrous bar bending squat you've ever seen in your life. You're a beast.
Yeah, that was I call it the squat heard around the world.
Did you like puke or pee or something after that? You said
no. I mean, you shit yourself plenty of times squatting heavy, but no. After that squat, I couldn't stand up.
Oof.
For like 15 minutes.
I don't think I would have ever stood back up. That would have crushed me.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, now I'm feeling it. Being 30, 32,
spine, legs, hips.
Luckily, my back feels good. It's hips and shoulders though.
Yeah,
they're pretty shot. I mean, they're both torn now. Both my shoulders are torn up.
Both mine are torn too. I just had a hip replacement.
Yeah, I'm insane.
Feeling you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably be there in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm 47, so yeah.
Man, you're 15 years older than me.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You still look the same though.
I'm Botox, man.
Dang. Yeah, I need to get on that.
So anyway.
So I mean, like, since that decision was made, it's allowed me to, really work on our relationship and like set us a good place to be now.
Yeah.
And with the TV like experience, it's been pretty funny. Just, they tell you it's really popular. Like people are gonna, they kind of prep you up. Like people are gonna recognize you and all that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really believe it, but it could be just a Vegas thing. But everywhere we go, we have people, recognizing us. Yesterday on the doors, I was knocking, and finally, I've had like some appointments where people recognize me, like some solar stuff. Yeah. But on the doors, just randomly knock in, and they're like, they start looking at me like sideways, and I'm like, is there something on my shirt?
Yeah.
And then they're like, we know you, and I was just like, hey, and they like invite me right in. So it's
90 Day Fiancé helps on doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've developed the 90 Day Fiancé close.
That's tell me. You got to tell me.
Well, it's basically, towards the end, I'll just let people know that I can't hide from them.
Yeah, because you're on TV.
And I ask them if they watch the show, and a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I've heard of it, and then it's helped me got some sales.
Yeah, Google it.
And I'm sure for the people, because
that's legitimacy.
Yeah,
big time.
And I'm sure it's probably lost some sales too, because it's reality TV. They paint you, it's you don't really have an idea of what it's going to be like. They don't tell you what it looks like on TV, but yeah, I mean, it's I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah,
and I hope like we're doing the Pillow Talk thing, and I hope like we can continue on the path of pursuing that, or spin off to something else. But it's
so I want to talk a little bit about, because I want to talk about Pillow Talk, because that's after the 90 Day Fiancé. So the 90 Day Fiancé is on TLC. What is it like, dude, filming the season? How long is the season? How much, like, what goes into that? Because I have no clue. I mean, I feel like what I know about TV is it's your filming is not as long as the show lasts, because they air it differently. But how long does it take to film a season? What does it take from you? What does it look like? What is that like?
So, I don't really know exactly all the details I can share.
Yeah,
but basically what it is you have 90 days to get married. Like, that's real. That's not a not a TV.
A real timeline.
Yeah, it's not a fake thing.
Yeah.
And they have your storyline. They get it from both sides. But they film you, and it's the film crew is contracted, like 12-hour days.
I guess more like how does it feel on your end? Because I understand we can't talk about the technicals of the show.
Yeah.
But what is it like during the time periods that because it's got to be kind of consuming.
It's exhausting. So it is exhausting.
Yeah.
And not like I'm the Rock or anything, but I see why like actors get paid so much.
Yeah. And
like I feel like I have a understanding of like where that comes from, because
you get an inside look.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's 12-hour long days, and it can stretch from 6 days to 3 days to 4 days, but it's your entire day. The and sometimes it's longer than 12. Like
you ain't on doors that day.
No. There was not a lot of work done during the process, because there's fights that happen on with the cameras involved, and there's fights after the cameras are involved, and so it's like
between you guys.
Yeah, and
because it's a high stress environment.
Yeah,
I mean it's the same with Misty and I. Work is a high stress environment, so we get into we've learned to work together better. But yeah, the high stress environment, no matter what it is, with a husband and wife or fiance and fiance, it causes disagreements because you're not under normal emotional circumstances.
Yeah, and so I mean that part, definitely it caused some stress, and then but really it was after seeing the final product is where I guess you could say there was like some backlash, or especially because now you're on the internet, and now like your whole life's in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm. And they want to talk about it.
Yeah. And the internet is not a nice place.
They got opinions.
And I think I'm lucky because of my weightlifting, and I've had I've had experience with trolls on the internet. So like my skin's a little thicker.
Yeah.
But for Thais, it was her first time. And that was rough. But we got through that part. Like it didn't last forever, because eventually you just start looking away. You're just not paying attention to it.
Doesn't matter.
And they film us from the day she arrives, and then they go, they come back and forth basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they film you up to your wedding day. So like that wedding you see on, TV is our real wedding.
It's your wedding.
Yeah.
It's pretty dope documentation of it. I mean, that's
yeah. So, that's kind of something to tell the grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
And, definitely I've been keeping all the videos and like downloading them, so that way I have them for the future.
Yeah.
And it was great. I got through the 90 days, like whether or not we're going to be, on TV or not, like I did get to like have her go everywhere throughout the country and like meet my entire family and meet all my friends. And,
that's cool.
Everything kind of worked out. Like we didn't have a planned wedding, until she got here and like, made sure that she wanted, to get married because she's never lived here. And it's really tough. I think,
culturally is going to be a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, my dad, obviously, like he's an immigrant, like he came here from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think one of the big things is, finding a community of like immigrants from the same country is a big thing. And, it makes sense, like why, like all my family stays in Massachusetts, like my Brazilian side of the family.
Yeah.
There's a big community of Brazilians there, and they've been there. And, I wanted to try to find a place where, she can have, a community.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool. One of my friends from high school, he actually married a Brazilian, and they just had their baby this year. So it's like we have that little community here. And that was really important. I spoke with my aunt, like we went out to Massachusetts and got to visit my family, my mom and everything.
Yep.
And my aunt's out there, and she's been in same thing. She immigrated right around the same time my dad did. She's been in the United States 35 years, and just hearing her talk about like her story, it made me it really opened my eyes to like what I need to provide, to Thais, and making sure that like she likes it here, because it's not easy. She came here, barely spoke any English. Now she's speaking English every day. She's been in English school, like. It's a lot better, but it's still not her first language, and it's not even close, and, we're thinking about baby names, and we're like, well, I know she took my dog, Theodore, and like his name is now Theodoro because like it's Portuguese. That's how you say it in Portuguese. And so it's like, we're about to have a baby, and I know that like she's going to take the name and make it Portuguese. So we got to find the right name that works with both.
Yeah. Because Theodoro doesn't.
Yeah, Theodoro. Yeah, it just doesn't roll off the English tongue,
It doesn't. So dope, man. So one full season behind you, or two?
One full season.
Is there more? Is it just one season that you do?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Got it.
And probably what we do know, like, won't be able to tell anyone anyway.
Gotcha.
But
but there are some spinoffs. So you started doing the Pillow Talk, is that right?
Yeah.
So what's that look like?
So Pillow Talk's great. It's basically you're commentating on the shows. And so 90 Day Fiancé has like 19 spinoff shows. And there's a pillow talk for every different
it.
show and season. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we're doing the pillow talk.
So is it basically like a sports commentator, but for reality TV?
Yeah,
essentially.
They have couples that were on the show.
Got it.
And they basically now it's their turn to watch the show and like share their thoughts, like
got it,
and kind of share their experience. So it's my brother John. He was a big part of our season.
I saw him on there.
Yeah, so him and I are doing pillow talk, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
like definitely like doing that, and who knows what's in the store for the future for us. I think there might be some spinoff stuff, and then we might decide that we don't want to do a spinoff. It really kind of just depends on how we're feeling and when that opportunity comes.
It's personal. It's got to be like, I mean, listen, we know a lot of people that have done amazing with the Kardashians, right? Jersey Shores. I mean, there's people that have, you turn it into like, and my dirty secret, like the first like 5 seasons of Jersey Shore, I watched them all. I loved them.
Jersey Shore was pure entertainment.
Even when they came back, dude, I was like, oh man, the situation's changed. He's like all cleaned up and he's like spiritual now. Like,
that's funny.
But it's it's like they've made careers out of it. But also you see how it's very personal, because when they're not there, you get to be normal. But when they are there, it's normal but personal, and then it just seems to create almost like a different reality where stuff just changes a little bit. So it's like you're giving up some of yourself, but it's a trade-off.
Yeah. And I think, I try to be very aware of like what's going on as far as like, the emotions behind it. And it's not like we're like super famous or anything like that, like not at any stretch, but like getting recognized in public.
Yeah.
Like I can see like how that could affect like your life. And I'm sure, if we do one season and that's it, it'll probably, it'll eventually just dissipate.
Yeah.
And there won't be like a lot of it. But, for some people, like I walk into a place and then, now that I've been recognized, you're starting to like look to see if you're going to be recognized.
More,
and then there's anxiety that when you're thinking about it, there's some anxiety that comes with that. And then like in my head, like I can see how like it can lead to like deeper like thoughts, like, and maybe even some depression. Like now you walk into a place and no one recognizes you. Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Yeah. Do you start to place worth on it? It's
exactly.
Hard.
So it's like, luckily I feel like for me, it's like, it's whatever. Yeah. I think it's fun. Like it's just fun.
It's fun.
Like that's how I look at it. It's fun. Like when people come up and they're fans of the show, like I think it's awesome. And if they don't come up, I'm like, okay, well that's fine too.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I lived 29 years without anyone recognizing me, so it's like,
who cares? So what are the plans, man? So you're still on Doors. You're with Vivint. Back with JT, which I love watching you guys because you're the original dream team, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you're doing the show, you're doing the follow up, the pillow talk.
Yeah.
What do you have? Are you just kind of rolling with the punches? Like what is the plans?
I am kind of just rolling with the punches. I think I've lived a very like structured life, and I'm kind of taking advantage of like the time that I have, because of the money that I've made, to just, see what happens, maybe an opportunity presents us, to do something. And like, it's actually one thing I felt like that was happening with me already, was really just, something maybe subconsciously telling me like, to get out of the industry, maybe like that's something that happens. I don't see it happening yet. I don't like it's really it's really hard.
Yeah.
But
you think Mark Cuban knew he was going to be Mark Cuban when he was knocking doors?
Yeah.
You think he did?
No. Like, you're right.
Yeah, it's like, no, he didn't know.
So, I think I'm just, I'm doing what I have to do work wise. And I, have a couple guys here, doing work wise, and I'm still doing my thing. It's
still a thug on Doors.
Yeah. And I'm getting into solar
Nothing
more.
Changed. Yeah.
So I mean that's fun. That's it's a whole different beast compared to alarms, and it's kind of fun to
less work, more money.
it's kind of fun to see the challenge. Well, it's still a challenging sale.
It is. You're fighting a massive amount of misinformation and illogical thought processes. It's like trying to just dig into people's like illogic, like, why do you think that? Who told you that? What made you think? Like, it's just goofy stuff. So like there, it's the, well, we're going to move. Well, when you bought your house and you got your 30-year mortgage, did you say you didn't want the 30-year mortgage because you weren't going to live there for 30 years? Like, why doesn't that same logic apply to it? For them? It doesn't. So it's convincing them. So it is a challenging sale because you're like literally battling illogical where they have logic in all of their other purchasing. With solar, it doesn't seem to make sense. And if the job was easy, we wouldn't get paid so much. But,
and it's different, and so that's kind of it's exciting. I've had it's
fun again.
My first month under my belt of doing solar closes or like getting some solar sales, like
kind of fun, huh?
Yeah. No, I definitely like it. So I'm seeing how that plays out. That's definitely something.
I want to ask you about this. Okay, because to me, I'm an ex-alarm guy. And so like when you're an alarm guy, you look at like bug guys and you're like, what are you doing selling bugs, dude?
Yeah.
And for you, we talked and I'm like, Pat, if you were doing that amount of work in solar and you're like, dude, the alarm close is so easy for me. I love knocking doors for alarms. I love it. And you were like, I don't want those long ass,
those going to be a good debate.
Those long, like, those long install times. And it's like, slowly you've kind of like, what is that process for you?
So I think, it really, to me, it comes down to, it's actually what you talked about, correlation. It comes down to like your process. And it's the process of, of solar and the sale that has, it's taken me like a long time.
Yeah.
To like
the whole time
kind of to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I guess is what it is. The thing is, it's like I enjoy selling alarms so much.
Yeah.
And like
that resonates
to a huge level. Like, like more than anyone I've ever met. To be honest. It's just,
well, you're good.
And like everything about it kind of just aligns with like even my personality, like the relationships, like how I am with relationships and just things like that. It really just aligns with me. It's been something that I've succeeded in from day one and I enjoy it. And the money is great.
It's not bad money.
Yeah.
And
it's
not bug money.
It's not bug money.
I don't know what the hell the bug guys are doing. Sorry, bug guys.
No, and the thing is, it's like, you remember JJ?
Yeah, of course. Franco, he's still putting around here. He's doing Windows.
Yeah, started his own window company.
Yeah, he's got Windows, doing good.
Again, someone I trained. Yeah, and he spun off his own company. Did $1 million in his first year.
He went and sold Bitcoin
ATMs
for dude. If you can sell doors. You can sell anything.
Yeah.
So he did the Bitcoins and then he went and he started a window company.
And he's doing successful. Windows and he keeps, like everyone. I
tried to get him in solar window.
Yeah. Like everyone at Door, everyone's always recruiting. It's nonstop. So, he's like talked to me about doing windows and I just look at houses and I look at windows and I'm like, bro, I don't care how much you get paid. I just can't get excited about
windows. I don't want to sell a window.
Yeah. I just can't get excited about windows.
Yeah.
And I think with solar, what's kind of turned and like made it is I've seen enough now and been in enough appointments where I see the challenge.
Yeah.
And that's where now I'm like, ooh.
I like that part.
Ooh, yeah. Like, ooh, that piques my interest. There's a challenge there.
Yeah.
I didn't close that one.
Yeah.
How am I not closing an appointment?
How's it not possible? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then, especially, I mean, dude, the market out here is, dude, I show up to appointments and I'm the fourth guy that week.
Yeah. That's
a spot I like to be in, but that's where I've seen my most success is being that like third guy.
It's the like most professional guy that wins those battles.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's the best price guy. It's the most professional guy. It's the most trustworthy guy. It's the guy with the best legitimacy. It's the guy with the best information. It's the most trustable guy. It's the best guy in my experience.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree that's
the same with the doors out here. Like I'll get you on it, not you, but like I see, I've been so many doors and they're like, I've talked to I know, and I've never gave anybody my power. I'm like, I know, but it's like, I'm just the best guy on the door, but it's just through practice. It's not like I'm the best guy on the planet on doors, but I've just knocked so many doors.
Yeah.
But I vibe with that. It's like, I like being the 7th or 8th guy on the door because that's where I like to shine.
Yeah.
I love that. It's my vibe. Yeah.
No, it's good because they have their you know, a customer is also, you know, living from their past experiences.
Yep.
And so, you know, when you show up and you are different because you're more professional, or you have new information that no one said before, or
a new way to put it.
A new way to put it. Like you just 100%. Did the 30-year mortgage thing. Like that was great. I haven't heard that one yet. You know what I mean? I'm going to take that and put it in my toolkit.
Right in the back pocket.
Yeah. I'm getting a training here. So, I just think I'm going to just continue to learn and keep doing that. I do have a couple things I want to spot out too. So one of the big things when you're doing door-to-door forever, I mean, you know this, everyone knows this.
I think I'm forever. I don't know yet though.
Well, I mean, as far as like, you know, what these guys do, you know, to stay, because you got to be in top form as much as you can.
You do.
And so
it can get exhausting.
Yeah, and what you see in our industry is energy drinks, Adderall, Vyvanse, whatever. And guys are just like, they're running their cortisol levels, you know, up as high as they can. And, you know, you get burned. They feel like they're getting burned out.
Is this the doctor we were talking about?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring that up.
No, I want to talk about it too. So before the podcast, Pat and I were talking about this doctor spot, and I suffer from a lot of this myself. I don't care who knows what I'm on. I've been on TRT I'm 47. I've been on TRT for 7 or 8 years. And it's just like, you know, and I've been in impact sports or lifting or CrossFit or heavy lifting my entire life. I've had one rotator cuff surgery so far, and it still hurts. The other one's still ripped. I had a full hip replacement, and I have 2 degenerating discs in my lower. And people are like, "What do you do to yourself?" I'm like, it's just the compound effect of, you know, I started lifting when I was 19, and I've been lifting, and I'm 47, so it's a long time. So you were telling me about some of these blood tests and this doctor. So I don't know who else this will help, but I definitely want to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like what I see, and you know, in our first office, like you were on TRT, I was on TRT.
It's the juice of the gods.
And
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. And like for me, it was like, look, I abuse steroids. My past is out there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't produce testosterone. When I'm not on TRT, my levels are like, you know, a female girl.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a
when
teenage
you start,
girl.
You don't stop.
And, you know, I've done it the wrong way, like on my own, and I've done it the right way. And the right way is the way to go, especially if you're making money. There's so many people in this industry that make a ton of money, and like they feel like shit. And it doesn't make any sense.
Invest in your vessel.
And then what do? They come to me and they're like, "Pat, what do you do?" I'm like, "Well, dude, I go see a doctor."
Yeah.
You know, like
have a doctor.
And I get a blood work.
Yeah.
You know, like why would you try to fix a problem where you don't even know what the problem is? You know, or like you're putting Band-Aids over stuff. Like Adderall and energy drinks is only going to get you so far.
100%.
And, you know, you can't do that stuff forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm ADHD. Like, you know, I take, you know, Vyvanse, and, you know, I've prescribed by psychiatrists, and I've done I've always gone to a doctor, you know? And so Merrick Health, it's an online platform, so you can be anywhere. And these are like the top guys in the industry. And they work with a ton of people. And I'm lucky enough, one of the marketing people hit me up because he's known me from the past of my weightlifting, and now I'm on the TV show. And so I've partnered with them. I have my own lab that I recommend people take. It's merrickhealth.com/Pat Mendes, and you get 10% off.
How do you spell Merrick?
Merrick is spelled Marek.
Okay. And so it's merrick.com/Pat Mendes.
merrickhealth.com/Pat Mendes.
All one word on Pat Mendes?
Yep.
Copy.
And then the promo code Mendes. So, and you can order.
I gotta be honest. I love promo codes.
Yeah.
I want
get you 10% off.
I want 10%. I'm still, listen, whether it's my lifting t-shirt, if I could just get a promo code at Lulu. Jesus,
I got
man.
that.
You do?
Yeah, I'm the Sweat Collective.
So anyway, the merrickhealth.com/Pat Mendes.
Yep. And, you know, just get your blood work done. Start there. Talk to the doctor. He'll tell you what you need or what you don't need. And you don't have to like get anything. But if you need like getting testosterone and all HCG, whether you're trying to, you know, like for me, I had to come off testosterone last year. And it was
to have a baby.
Yeah.
It's intense, dude. I've tried it, and it is depressing. And then it's bad because you're trying to have a baby. So first of all, you're depressed, your hormones are down, and then you're not as sexually active because you don't have testosterone, and then you're trying to have a baby. So it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and I knew with my past, like I probably was infertile.
Yeah.
Like just based off, taking testosterone without a doctor, without taking the other things that you need, like HCG or Clomid. Yeah. And so I came off testosterone and then started, this fertility program. They prescribed me everything. They ship it to your house. And within 2 months, I had 180 million sperm with like 80% mobility. I was like really fertile.
Baby maker.
Yeah.
Holy God.
And what's cool is like I didn't have to come off testosterone forever. Now that like I'm producing again and like I have my dosages coming from a doctor. Yeah. Like I was still able to, hop back on, take the other stuff that they gave me.
The safe way.
Yeah, and have a baby and make a baby out of it. So,
well, you said that there was some other stuff too. Some of your other hormones were like out of whack, and they caught it. And it's like that's the thing. I do think about the same stuff because I've been on TRT for at least 7 years, and it's like I have a higher red blood cell count, and I don't get my blood taken out as much as I should. But I know that it affects me in like other ways, and it's like you don't know what's going on unless you get blood work. And then I've gotten blood work before and then not had a doctor to help me do what I needed to do. And then I needed to get a referral and a this and a that. And I'm like, and I get overwhelmed and I get anxiety and I don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm talking about one order of a lab, one visit with the doctor. They'll give you everything you need and they'll ship it right to your house. It is like,
that's my kind of stuff right there.
It's not cheap, but it is.
Nothing good for you is.
The thing is, you will get a return on your investment 100%. So for me, in my experience.
Well, look good, feel good, sell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What happened was I was, been on TRT and I've always never had issues working, never had issues like putting in the hours or whatever. And then again, there was a lot of stuff going on in my life, but even when some of those things passed and I felt like, okay, now it's time to get on, and I went to go turn on my turbo switch, right?
Yep.
Well, something wasn't there. And I was like, man, you know what? Like I've changed my diet. I got a routine going. Like I'm eating good, like everything. I'm sleeping well. Mm-hmm. Like, why don't I have that same drive? And it's not from like not being on testosterone, because I was. What happened was my neurosteroids were really low. So that's like DHEA, pregnenolone, and my prolactin was high. And so like, I didn't know that. I got the test, and these are like supplements that you can order on Amazon for $12. And immediately, like once I got my blood work done, this was before I met the doctor, they give you recommendations. I'll show you the labs after. Yeah. You're going to be blown away once you see this stuff. It's insane how much data and how much like recommendations and things you get. Mm-hmm. So I went through that, and boom, immediately I ordered DHEA on Amazon and pregnenolone, and my mood changed within 3 days. Within 3 days, I felt like I was back to like my normal self. And, I've done the, YouTube research. I've done the bro science stuff.
I've done so much stuff, dude. There's a couple doctors I follow on there, and it's like, it's like Googling, why do I have a headache on Google? It's like and each doctor has a different thing. It's this and it's that. And the fact of the matter is, I know the science of it is, it's in your blood work. That's what it is. And there's an answer to like, it is an ecosystem in there, and there are balancing systems. And we know, I've done more than TRT I've done steroids in my life as well. And, you start doing different things and different hormones, and you have to start taking HCG, and you have to start coming on and off things. And it's like, you're trying to like bro science your way into like feeling good. And now I'm just on TRT, but it's still the same thing. Whatever's happened has happened. And it's like, some of the stuff that you were mentioning before the show is like, man, sometimes I do feel like that. And it's probably because of a chemical imbalance.
Yeah. And it's, and they test for all types of stuff, whether it's like, I think the lab, the full thing I did, was like from cancer to like heart health, and like, it was insane just to see it all. Mm-hmm. And then now I have a plan to, make sure, because it's one thing to have a baby. I mean, I want to make sure I'm around, and I know what I've done because of my past. Like, I'm not necessarily living the healthiest way I can be, or there's just a healthy way to do it. Like, I don't need to freaking, take a bunch of take a bunch of drugs and like lift a ton of weight like I did in the past. It's not really
totally
about
different.
that.
Yeah.
It really is about just like
living a long time
and optimizing your
Health.
hormones, because low testosterone can be worse than having high testosterone.
Way worse.
And, you know, I think there's a lot of guys that don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Especially in our industry where, you know, you're paid to perform. Like there's no drug tests in Door2Door. Last time I checked.
No, there's not.
You know, you might as well optimize your performance and figure out what's going on.
Well, you know, like when I went in for, it was like 7, maybe more. Yeah. About 7 years ago. And I went in and my T levels were at like 230 something. And I was, you know, just turned 40, and that's not good. It's not enough. And you know, the TRT, I've been on it for a long time. I've also gone through periods where I did steroids. That never worked good for me too, because what ended up happening with those is it changes my mood more than it changes my body in a negative way. And so I've just really leveled out to like the TRT, which, you know, it's nice to have the same test levels in my 40s, 47 years old, as I had in my 20s. And I don't feel like I look like I'm coming up on 50, but I attribute some of it's to Botox, but I do attribute it to having healthy testosterone levels. And I know guys that are way younger than me, like in their 30s, and you can, you know, they're, not to talk about good or bad body shape, because I never like to talk bad about somebody's physique, right? Because they just are. But you can tell, man, they're a little more droopy mentally, physically. I'm like, dude, some TRT might help you, man.
Yeah. And just go check it out. Just go see a doctor.
Go see.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key to it, is just, you know, don't go the back door way.
Yeah.
You know, do it the right way. It's going to be worth it. It's worth the little extra money you spend. Because, I mean, that little extra money you spend might add years to your life.
Yeah. Well, how much would you pay? Like if it was the difference between 70 and 85?
Yeah.
15 years. Like what would you invest in that 15 years now to raise your grandkids? Like
anything.
Yeah. Like if you literally were there and you were 70, and if you would have just done this when you were like, oh, geez, I would have paid anything for that. So that's dope. So one more time, and I'll put it in the link. Text me over the link, and I'll put it in the bio of the story when we do it.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I'll just put it in the link in Pat's story so everybody can find it. So listen, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. It has been really, you know, fun for me to watch you do everything that you've done. And it was we did correlation, and one of my guys that's been here for 3 years, and he turned to you and he says, I feel like I've known you. And it's because I've always had gratitude for those days. And I attribute a lot, you know, and that's why I still have so much gratitude for John. It's because I'm not a person that gets to be where he is without having a lot of gratitude and thankfulness for the people that showed him. And a lot of my work ethic, my understanding of sales, I mean, dude, I did the takeover pitch was a beast. I did 213 of those fucking things in my first year. So paid me a lot of money, you know. In my first year with Vivint, I did 130. My second year was 190. And I attribute that to, those were good years for me. I attribute that to the sales office that we had, the training that we had, the work ethic that you guys had. And I just fell in line with that, you know, the sales and the ethics and just everything that we all did in that office really molded me, because doors is different than any other job. And so I attribute a lot of that to you. And, you know, you left, and that's why when you left, I was like, oh my God, Pat's leaving. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I still had that big piece of you in me, because it was, you know, you were one of my original mentors and the people that trained me. So I've loved watching you, dude. And I'm so glad, you know, we did the first podcast with you. And if anybody wants to listen to that, go to, The Door Knocker, which was our original podcast. And Pat did one on there that Zach Ross interviewed. I'm so grateful to have this one with you, where I get to do the interview and we just get to talk some shit, but some story
no, definitely,
too.
And I'm grateful too. I think, you know, what I've come to learn, because, you know, becoming a manager or a trainer or whatever, you know, you call it, and basically helping other people,
leader. And
especially in our industry, like we're not doing it for free. Like we're helping people in a sense to build our business.
100%.
But if it wasn't for people like you, who I was, you know, able to train and have success, like it's only every single person that I've trained or come across or mentored, whatever it is, like I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And whether they've stuck with the industry and, you know, have had a ton of success, or if they've gotten out and started businesses or just completely fell off and never did it again, like it gave me a chance to get better at what I do.
Yeah.
And it gave me a chance to provide service. And giving is the ultimate form of receivership.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that's one thing in Door2Door that a lot of people, they might shy away from managing because they think people are going to leave or they don't know if it's going to work out. And it's like, look, dude, you don't lose anything by giving people, your time and your service and your mentorship. Like, you're only gaining from it.
Yeah.
And I'm an example of that. Like, I've had people come and go from sales teams. I've built sales teams from the ground up. I've inherited sales teams. It really is just like, I'm in a position now where, I get to kind of do whatever I want, and I'm grateful for it. And if it wasn't for my sales teams and the people I've mentored, I would never be where I'm at. I wouldn't have the pay scale I have. I wouldn't have, the residual and the programs that are there that keep me in this industry.
Yeah.
And I know all of that's attributed to all the people that, I've helped. And so, yeah, grateful for you too, Lee. This has been great.
Dope, man. All right, gang. I'll put the links for Pat. If nobody's seen it, 90 Day Fiance. My man is on 90 Day Fiance and TLC. And then we're going into another a first season of the Pillow Talk with Pat. And then I'll put some of the links that Pat uses for his doctors. I'm jumping on that today because I need to get my blood work done. But thanks again, Pat. Thanks for coming in and blessing us, man.
All right, man.
Thanks, brother.